that was discussed, but not quite in the fundable range. There's a missing ingredient in your grant that you need in order to get your resubmission across the pay line. And that's what we're talking about today. So if you're new here, I'm Sarah Dobson. I am a research grant consultant, and my team and I help early career researchers get funded at NIH. So if your grant got discussed, but it didn't score well enough to get funded, it means that your reviewers liked your grant, but they didn't love it. And yes, of course, you need to address all of those critiques in your summary statement from your reviewers, but doing only that is not enough to get your grant funded. So the missing ingredient that you need to include in your R01 resubmission might sound a bit strange, but I promise, as someone who has reviewed dozens, if not hundreds of R01s at this point, I can tell when this ingredient is missing. That missing ingredient is emotion. So if you're watching this live, happy Valentine's Day. This is a perfect topic for Valentine's Day, even though I think Valentine's Day is kind of a BS holiday. But I'm really serious when I say that emotion matters in your grant application, and that's eliciting emotion from your reviewers and conveying that emotion on your behalf. So let me talk about what I mean by that. So let's do a really easy example. Think back or grab any one of your summary statements and look at the summary of discussion. So of course, that's only relevant if your grant was discussed. But you will have typically one of two sort of overarching statements. And those are either, one, enthusiasm was dampened by XYZ, or enthusiasm was high for this application, right? So eliciting emotion among your reviewers is about generating enthusiasm for your grant. And yes, of course, you can and must generate enthusiasm with a strong research idea, but that alone is not going to cut it. Because remember that your R01 is more than the sum of its parts. And if you don't believe me, let's take a look at the NIH scoring guidance. So here's what it says. No formula is used to derive the overall impact score from the individual criterion scores, and reviewers are instructed to weigh the different criteria as they see fit in deriving their overall scores. Note that an application does not need to be strong in all categories to be judged likely to have a major scientific impact and thus deserve a high impact score. So I'm not saying that the entire merit review process is a free-for-all, but what I am saying is that this process involves humans, so it's not as objective as you might think. So what this means is the way that you communicate your research really matters a lot. So busy, stressed, tired human volunteers, aka your reviewers, need some help making sense of an idea that they're seeing for the very first time. One that you have probably seen so many times that it makes your eyes bleed, right? So in other words, letting the science speak for itself is a complete fantasy in the world of grant writing, especially R01s. It's not something you can do if you're serious about getting your project funded. And it's not something you should want to do either. This is an opportunity to generate some enthusiasm for your research by communicating your idea clearly and simply and persuasively. But here's the other side of that coin. To generate that enthusiasm among your reviewers, it needs to come from you first. Like I always say, and if you've been here a while, you've heard me say it before, your job in your grant is to get your reviewers as excited as you are about your research, which of course is extremely tricky when you yourself are busy and tired and stressed and can barely find the time to get words on the page. It is so easy to lose sight of your own enthusiasm when you're feeling under a lot of pressure to keep the lights on at your lab. But I'm telling you, again, having reviewed dozens and dozens and dozens of R01s at this point, your enthusiasm and passion and curiosity are a competitive advantage. This is actually something that we screen for among our strategic grant review clients to help them convey more clearly in their resubmissions. And it's also something that we teach you how to do inside our self-paced online course, the Grant Funding Formula. Of course, there's an art to this, but I'll leave you with this one tip for today. And that is, before you start writing your grant, to just take a few minutes and write down why you love your research, why it's meaningful to you, why you're good at it, and what kind of impact you want to make with your research. Just remembering that, reconnecting with that, is going to help you write a better grant. And if you think this sounds ridiculous, do it twice. You definitely need to do this, okay? Just 2 minutes. That's really all it takes just to give it a try. So if you found this helpful, you should check out our free resource library that has a ton of useful stuff to help you write a better, stronger R01. And that's it for today. I will see you next time.